Hello everyone! We are back for another video in this IVR series. For those who are new here, I recommend you watch all of the other videos in this series. The links are provided in the description box. For today's video, we're going to learn all about IVR events. In the previous videos, we learned that IVR routing activities can either be actions or conditions. Actions are the actual events within the system, whereas conditions are the basis upon which actions will be implemented. For today's video, we're going to cover the more common actions or events in the IVR system, namely menu, transfer, and play. On the screen, I already am in the process of building a workflow where we can demonstrate how to work on menu, transfer, and play activities. Let's work with this scenario. In this example, when callers are calling outside business hours, they will be routed to a menu with 3 options that include transfers and message playback. To build on this section of the workflow, we have to start by adding the menu activity first. As a quick reminder, IVR reads workflows from top to bottom, then left to right. It's important that you take this into consideration when building your workflows. In the toolbox, look for menu and drag it to its place in the workflow. To add the options or branches, right-click on it and choose Add Branch. In the menu window, we can now start adding the options. You can add the options one by one, or just like in our situation, because we have multiple entries, we can add a range. I will go ahead and enter 1 to 3 following the instructions as noted here on the window, and then click OK. This will bring us back to our workflow, and now we can program the other activities that will fall under each branch. Before we start configuring the other IVR events, we need to configure the properties of the menu activity. With it selected, go to Properties. As you can see, there are a lot of options you can configure for the activity. As a tip, when you don't know what a particular setting is for, you can select a field or checkbox, and information describing its function will display at the bottom of the Properties window. Under Options, you can set the in-between digit delay duration, number of invalid attempts, no digit timeout duration, and number of timeout attempts. But most importantly, you need to make sure that you set the instructions prompt. This is the prompt that will play the menu instructions for the caller. In the instructions field, click on the button provided. In the sample scenario, I will select from an existing prompt. In the Select a Prompt window, you can use the search field to type in a keyword or scroll through the list to locate the prompt you want to use. Once you have selected the prompt you want to use, click OK. To make this more understandable, I will rename the branches so that we know what we're working on. At this point, make sure to check your spec sheet or your plan to ensure that you are correctly programming the routing behavior as required. For options 1 and 2, we will need to add a transfer activity. By now, we should already know that the first step is to look in our toolbox and add a transfer activity in the workflow. Once you add a transfer activity, you have to specify the destination. In short, we need to tell the IVR system where the call will be transferred to. To do this, click on the transfer activity and go to Properties. The Properties window shows you all of your activity details, but we want to focus on setting the destination. In the destination field, click on the button provided, and this will bring up another window where you can select the device. Specifically, you can choose the extension, queue, or queue group the call will be routed to. It goes without saying that in order to successfully configure this activity, we need to have programmed our extensions and queues prior to building the workflow. Otherwise, we will be going back and forth, which is okay, but not as efficient. In this demo, I will select one of the training ports I've set aside for this and click OK. Still under Properties, you have other options you can set. We will not go over all of them, but you do have the option to set the transfer type and timeout duration. For the transfer type, you can choose between blind and supervised. For IVR systems, you will generally use blind transfer, sometimes also referred to as cold transfer, and this means that there won't be anyone supervising the actual transfer. For the timeout duration, you can specify how long it will try to complete the transfer before it times out. As always, after each step, make sure to save your changes so that you don't lose it. Moving on to the next transfer activity, we will go through the same process. But in this case, I do want to show you that you can program the transfer to send a call to an external number. To do so, in the Properties window, under Dialing, in a destination field, enter the phone number and make sure to check the box for external transfer. As always, save your changes and we're done with the transfer activities. For the last option, the scenario requires that we send the call to a playback message of the hours of operation. Again, in the toolbox, look for the play activity and add it to your workflow. With the play activity selected, click Properties. This is where we assign what message will be played back to the customer. Under Prompt, in the Greeting Prompts field, click on the button to view your options. You have several. You can add a new prompt, add a variable to a prompt, add or edit text, clear prompt, quick add prompt, or select from an existing prompt. As a quick example, let's select from an existing prompt. You can scroll to locate or use the search field to type in a keyword and choose the prompt you're going to use. After making your selection, click OK and go back to the workflow and save your configuration. Back on the designer interface, you can now review the section you've programmed. Check for errors by validating the workflow and test it to see if the IVR is now behaving as expected. IVR offers a number of activities with which you can build your workflow. We've only just scratched the surface in terms of what you can do with an IVR routing system. Hopefully, by covering the more common IVR actions in this video, we've been able to help you get it started. As always, I encourage you to practice what you've learned. Please reach out to us for any questions here at Mitel Global Education Services. You can go to mitel.ca, click on Services and Support, and then click Training. Thank you again for joining us. Please like and subscribe to learn more, and have a great day.